Hi, welcome back to Hometime. We're in the final stages of the Stone Cottage project. Hopefully you've had a chance to catch a few of the shows along the way. We'll hear from an expert on the nuances of flat sawn, rift sawn, and quarter sawn lumber. A lot going on, so stick around. Now, very soon Mark's going to be ready to put the railing in right in this section, but before he does that, we have to trim out our support post here with these cherry boards. And as you can see, they're fairly wide. And of course, using the cherry works perfectly here, since that's what you see in the rest of the house. And this is an excellent example of what our supplier, Brian Lorenzen, provides in his large format boards. So Brian, your specialty is taking big boards out of big trees like this one. I got to ask you, where do you get these things from? There can't be a lot of them around to cut down.
Most of the logs I get are in the 2 to 3 to 5 foot diameter range. This happens to be a 200-year-old white oak. Actually got this tree 4 or 5 blocks from here.
Mm-hmm. Where do you get the rest of them, though?
They're all urban logs, taken locally from parks, somebody's yard. And on this side, I've got laid out how I would flat saw this log, where I'm making cuts tangentially to the growth rings. And I work my way around the log as I hit defect, working my way down smaller and smaller. And I've got an example of some flat sawn red elm here.
All right, this is where the kind of the grain just gets spread out like that. What do you call that sort of?
This is what they refer to as cathedral grain, and everybody's seen that in typical red oak around the house.
Okay, now how about quarter sawn? You hear a lot about quarter sawn.
On this face of the log, I've shown how I would quarter saw a big white oak like this. Typically, I would start by cutting along this line and then do a sequential cut right down to here, and then turn, cut these pieces, and then I end up with 4 quartered pieces. And the quarter sawn look looks like this right over here. This is an example of quarter sawn white oak.
Oh yeah. So very tight graining, and then you get a lot of this other stuff coming.
This is pith ray, or what people refer to as ray fleck. On these quartered pieces, typically when they get a little bit smaller and the pith ray or ray fleck is coming through at an angle like this, more at an angle, not along the face, then that's called rift sawn or bastard sawn. And that looks like this. This is a piece of rift sawn white oak, like this. Straight grain, but it's absent of the ray fleck.
How do you make book matching happen?
Book matching is lumber that's sequentially cut, and I keep track of it by numbering it. And basically it's 2 boards that on the same cut line, if you open them up, and I've got an example of it right here. This is really wide quarter sawn red oak. And you can see the mirrored image, if you want to call it that.
Everything just kind of matches up as it goes up the board then.
Yep. That's one of the advantages of keeping wood together and book matching it. The color clarity stays the same.
Yep.
Use them for wide tabletops. Mm-hmm. That's one of the uses.
Okay. So I noticed that you marked out all the dates here. So this tree originally started growing in 1800.
Yeah, this is a 200-year-old white oak, and you started your show right about here.
Oh, so that's on the tree rings. Nothing like making a guy feel old. Well, thanks so much for helping us out. This was interesting seeing this layout. You know, I've never actually seen it laid out on a cut piece of wood like this. Okay, so Mark's got part of the railing on here, and Dan is wrapping up the column. So how'd you go ahead and get it all taken care of here?
Well, once I got all my blocking in, it's basically one piece at a time. I started on the back side, nailed it on, the 2 sides on with the blocking, and then
clamping the whole time.
And then very carefully putting the last piece on, clamp as it went, use a micro pinner to get everything pinned together. This is called patience and good tools, is basically what it is.
I like the detail we're using through the house here, rather than doing 45-degree angles.
45s are tough to do because they always seem to open up. This is, it looks fancier, but it's actually easier to do for me.
Perfect. No, it's looking good.
Thanks.
Very nice.